Hello everybody and welcome to another amazing video of DIY investing. We're seeing a little bit of a correction today, which is why I wanted to zoom out, look at the long term of the charts, and make sure that you guys know exactly how important this breakout is, what it means for the altcoin market moving forward, and why this breakout specifically is so important for the rest of this year. When I was looking at the Bitcoin charts, I can see something playing out that is almost identical to the prior cycles, but what we're seeing this cycle that's so different is all of the institutional involvement. I have nothing but confidence this cycle is setting up to be the biggest one that we've ever seen, paired with the retail investors that are soon to be coming. I want you guys to be positioned and prepared. So today I'm going to drop some of my favorite charts. Make sure you guys know exactly how to be profitable for the rest of this coming cycle. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you find any value in this video, please do me a favor, hit that like, comment, and subscribe button. Without further ado, let's jump right into this amazing video today. Alrighty everybody, here we are jumping into today's video, and I'm excited to break this down because I've noticed a lot of people freaking out on this little tiny dip. A lot of people are already starting to call for these big corrections to start playing out, and I can't help but get irritated by seeing this because so many people are going to piss away their opportunity at financial wealth just by getting too scared right as we've broken out. So I wanted to go through today just really quickly before we jump into the other parts of today's video. I wanted to help you guys to just simply understand what is taking place and how to just, ignore all of the emotions, ignore all of the other people on the market, because I'm telling you, best thing I ever did for myself was unfollow almost all of the people on X, quit following people on YouTube. I don't watch other analysts on YouTube. Well, I lied. I watch Bob Lucas. He's the only other person I'll watch. But I don't watch other analysts because what I've noticed is everybody's got a different opinion. Some people might see it as bullish, some people might see it as bearish, and when we're really just sitting in points where the market's obviously going to keep going up, and we get these little correctives, oftentimes I see people on Twitter talking about why it's going lower, why this is going to happen, why a big dump's coming, and then it just makes all those people that are kind of on the fence panic sell, make dumb decisions, and then piss away their opportunity for financial fortune. Now, I wanted to go through and help you guys to see just how illogical all of these people are being, because what we're seeing is almost the exact same thing that we just went through. I mean, there really isn't a difference. So let's look at this. Right off the bat, notice here how we came up into this resistance level when we first broke all-time highs. We rejected, we came back up, retested that high and rejected off of it twice, and then we got the reversal back down. We came back down onto support, retested the prior all-time high of that cycle, and then we started to reverse back around. Notice how we ran straight back up to this same range high, and we rejected again, and we rejected again. So we'd kind of spent all of this time accumulating right around this high. But the second that we started to reverse, we did it really, really quickly. And now we've broken out, and we're giving ourselves a retest off of this same level. Resistance, 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 resistance. Breakout, support. So now everybody's freaking out on this perfect retest that everybody's getting. Everybody has an opportunity to jump back into those altcoins that they've seen outperforming. Everybody that has good picks that they like for the cycle. Everybody's been given an amazing opportunity to jump in on some of these dip days. And most people are too scared because there's too many idiots on Twitter, too many idiots on YouTube saying why we're going to go lower. I'm telling you guys right now, this setup right here on the shorter time frames is no different if we come out to a larger time frame than our entire cycle that we've been consolidating in. So pay attention to this, take a mental note. Now look at this. All we've done is repeated the exact same thing. There's not a difference in the world. And that's what I think is so funny about this entire correction. Everybody's so panicked about this entire sell-off. In fact, people are still panicked, even though we've broken out of the all-time high and retested it and got continuation. So this is just going to help simplify all those concerns. All the people out there that are worried, quit worrying. Unfollow all those people that are bearish, because I can promise you, they're not going to make you any money over this cycle. They're going to lose all of your money. The only thing we should be doing right now is holding, sticking to our investments. We built our investment portfolio over the last 3, 4, and 5 years with the intention to hold once we went into price discovery. So now that we've finally entered price discovery, I see all these people bearish, and it just doesn't make any sense, because all what we're seeing right here is a fractal of what just happened over the last 3 years. So remember, rejection, rejection. This is our range high. Same thing that happened over in here. You make the big sell-off, come back down, reaccumulate, and start going back up. Well, as soon as you start going back up, where does the resistance go? Straight back to those all-time highs. Rejected, rejected, rejected. And then what happens is the market breaks out, We get this big move outside of price discovery, I should say, and then it gives you a perfect opportunity to buy the retest of those prior range highs. And nobody did it, and everybody panicked, sold, and freaked out. And now all we're seeing is the exact same pattern playing out once more right here. It's just happening on a shorter time frame. This is the exact same fractal that we just went through. In fact, where we are right here is the same as right here. Everybody has a chance to buy this retest. The fact that nobody bought the retest after a breakout of an all-time high, not to mention how long of a range this actually was, 1,300 days that we spent below this high. Then to break out and retest that, and at the bottom of support, right when everybody has the best opportunity to get in, that's when everybody panics, sold, and head for the exits. The same thing is happening here, and that's what makes me laugh. I see all these people freaking out on Twitter. I see all these people mad on YouTube and whatever. Everybody's saying that it's going to go lower, and it's because they've got such bad PTSD from holding so many things that went down that the second that a clear breakout and retest happens, they just get way too clouded in their judgment, and then they're unable to make a profitable decision. So when I zoom out and I see this playing out, literally this is our final retest that we have before this thing probably starts shooting to like 150K per Bitcoin. And that's honestly what I believe is about to take place. And all we're at right now is the same position that we've always been at all of the other cycles. Really, it's not any different there. Not only does this look pretty much the same as right here, but the long term, every cycle that's taken us to get to this point pretty much followed the same rule of thumb. So this is actually going to pull up the chart of all of our prior Bitcoin cycles, right? So I've gone ahead and actually made this chart, and this is going to help you guys to just understand that every single thing that we're seeing right now is almost no different. And if you're somebody that's going to panic sell right now, get shaken out of your positions right as we finally went into price discovery, you're basically doing this at the worst possible time. If we look back to Bitcoin in 2009 to 2011, this was our first cycle. Now, obviously, we're not expecting to see the same ROI because Bitcoin was worth peanuts back then, but this is the same thing. This is right when we went into new all-time highs, was basically at $1. And then it went 32x into new all-time highs, all in the matter of a couple months. And obviously, that's the first cycle. It's not as applicable. But even looking at 2011 to 2014, same thing. Breakout into new all-time highs. If you would have sold right as that breakout was happening, you would have sold all the way down here. And then look at where it ended up peaking at, all the way at 1,200. Now, obviously, the volatility should go down. The corrections haven't been as bad this cycle. We haven't seen quite the same level of volatility as some of the other ones. But that's just more reason to continue to hold to the trend, because now there's even less of a reason for the market to dip in those same ways that it used to. Looking at 2014 and 2017, same sort of thing. If you sold those all-time high breakouts, you would have been right over here at like, $800, $900 per Bitcoin, right at that all-time high. And then look at where it ended up peaking at the top of that cycle. And this was all done in the matter of like 190 days. So once again, just by you not being able to hold until the very ending of the cycle, you miss out on such a vast amount of profit. In fact, there's really no point in getting in below the prior all-time highs if you're going to sell the second that it just goes right into a new one. Because this is where all of the real price action takes place, is once we break out of those prior all-time highs. Even in the last cycle, as lackluster as this cycle was in comparison to the other three, it still had an absolutely massive move once we started running into price discovery. The all-time highs were right over in here, and we can see that we still made an absolutely massive move into price discovery throughout a global pandemic, throughout hyperinflation, all of this stuff. There really wasn't anything positive that was going on in the economy throughout this time. Now we look over here, 2021 to 2025, pretty much the exact same pattern that's played out over the course of the last 4 cycles, the last 10, 15 years of Bitcoin price action. And many people are starting to panic sell right as we just entered price discovery. So when I look at this chart, yeah, we're technically in new all-time highs already, and we have been, but we haven't had any sort of big liftoff yet. I think that all of this retest was us giving another opportunity to be able to buy back into positions, to be able to actually compound on our favorite investments over this cycle. And now that we're starting to get even more continuation, I literally believe that we are basically at the last red candle before this entire thing shoots straight up to like 250,000. I'm not going to be the least bit surprised to see a 250K Bitcoin, even upwards of a $300,000 Bitcoin. In my eyes, that's where I think Bitcoin tops at the end of this cycle. Could go higher, could go a little lower. The exact price in which it tops doesn't matter so much. I've always traded the time frames, and the time frames are, virtually the same. You get about a 3-year uptrend every single time, and that's what we can see based off of these dates. The only one that didn't was basically the first cycle, where it was worth almost nothing in market cap, so it didn't take as much money to move the price. Looking into this cycle, we've taken our sweet time to get here, and I think because it's taken so long, people are starting to get worried. They're starting to exit out of their positions at the absolute worst time before this thing finally starts to mark up in value. So we've got another 6 months to go approximately, and during that 6 months, I expect another one of these to be playing out in the same way. It reminds me of 2017 when we were just right back down here, right first getting outside of those all-time highs. Kind of reminds me of this little cycle, and this is where it ended up at the ending of that same year. So looking at this, I honestly think 250K per Bitcoin is coming very, very soon. And when we're looking at the long term, we have this unique opportunity to be able to buy this short-term dip, and I really do believe that this is going to be one of the last dips that we get before the markup of this cycle really starts to set in. Seeing Bitcoin up here at 150K, I think it's going to happen really quick. Where Bitcoin went from 67,000 all the way to 108 and 109, the idea of Bitcoin going from 115 to 150, I think it's going to happen in a very quick period of time. And, from Bitcoin going to 150 to 250, it's going to happen even that much quicker, because we're at the portion of the cycle where it's finally starting to get true liftoff, right? We've kind of just been making these higher highs and higher lows, just kind of correcting off of these little levels, making these higher highs. Every time we break out, we retest the prior level as new support. Same thing happened over in here. And now we're just kind of doing it again. But notice how every single time we get a dip, look how long it takes before we're ever at the point of breaking back out. From the all-time high to the low was 371 days. And from the low to the ending of our first high was about 340 days. And then it marked up. And then from here, we kind of went sideways again for another 237 days. A little bit quicker, but still quite a decent amount of time in between. Then looking over in here, if we draw it at the secondary top, this one was only about 80 days, 78 days approximately that we consolidated here. So every single dip that we get is taking less time to get that next impulse. This one took over a year. This one took a little bit under a year. This one took a few months. I don't think that these are going to be really having the same level of corrections. I think that this is the point where corrections are going to look more like this as the market just gets more and more parabolic into a final blow off top some point at the end of this year. That's what we're looking for. That's what we've been targeting since we were all the way back down here at the all-time lows. It doesn't matter if we look at the prior cycles. We know that once Bitcoin enters price discovery, this is where the bulk of the new all-time high and the fun part, alt season, all of those things kind of comes in as a close. Now, one final chart over here before we wrap things up is the Bitcoin dominance. Obviously we're seeing a little bit of a bounce down in here, but if you actually look at the Bitcoin dominance, we were watching this big bearish divergence. We knew that it was inevitable that this was going to top. Now that we ended up finally topping, we're actually confirming our first lower low of the cycle. Because notice, we were basically here. This is technically a lower high, so we're confirming our first lower high, I should say. This is our lower high. We're rejecting off of this prior support level. This is acting as new resistance. This is a support and resistance flip. This will reject, and it should fall all the way back down to about 54% dominance. I would say here, from there we could see another bounce before it kind of keeps going lower. But this is what I'm expecting. Lower lows and lower highs, ultimately revisiting all the way back down here at this 40% dominance level, which is the 2018 all-time low. It's also the all-time low of our 2021 bear market. So I think it's a guarantee that I think it's very likely we revisit this 40% level, and I don't think that we should be doing really anything with our positions until we hit that level. Everything that I'm doing is holding. Altcoin positions are loaded, Bitcoin positions, NFTs, DeFi, everything that I've, expected to do well this cycle, I've already got my bags packed. There's nothing I need to do besides just hold the rest of this cycle. Because I'm telling you guys, if you've been holding throughout all of this, now we're finally to the upside portion. It's taken so long to get to this portion at all, and now that we're finally to that final stage, the last 6 months of the bull market, you're going to see this thing mark up pretty substantially. So get your positions packed, ignore all of the FUD, ignore all of the people that are telling you it's bearish. I would unfollow these people because I'm telling you guys right now, this is now my third cycle. I'm now 9 years in crypto, going on my 10th year, a full decade into these markets. I've been able to make multi-millions. I've helped my family make insane amounts of profit off these markets, and my goal is to see you guys do the same. I'm always here making these videos to make sure that you guys can earn a profit. At this point, the only thing that we have to do to earn a profit is just stick to our investments. So guys, if you found value in this video, please do me a favor. Hit that like, comment, and subscribe button. If you guys want to see anything I'm trading, any signals I'm posting right now in this dip, links are in the description to go ahead and sign up for my VIP on my website. Lifetime access. Once you're in, you're always in. You're going to be able to trade along with any market that I choose to invest in, whether it's crypto, stocks, anything. So if you want to check that out, links are in the description. With that being said, I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. Looking forward to seeing what the rest of this year's in store for us, because I'm telling you, we're about to make a lot of money, and I'm excited to ride this wave out with you. With that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next one. As always, peace out.